Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Slappin Kpop podcast. I am Kayla, and today I am here with Sammi.
Hello.
And we are going to be talking about the variety show The Genius, Season 1, Rules of the Game. And I am so excited to talk about this show because this is actually the reason I listened to K-pop today and met the people on this podcast eventually. And when I was talking to Sammi, we both realized that we both absolutely loved this show, but didn't think anyone else cared or watched or loved the show as much as we did. And so once we found out we both loved it, we needed to podcast it immediately.
Yeah, I mean, so to give a little background, The Genius is a, little variety show that aired in 2013. So I didn't think anybody still remembered The Genius in 2020 or cared. Because it's not a show that I think gets talked about a lot.
It is not.
Especially by K-pop fans. I think a lot of people
yeah.
that like reality TV have heard of The Genius. Especially reality competition shows. But I don't think general K-pop fans don't really know The Genius. They probably, no. I think they would know Busted more than The Genius. So if you
they definitely know Busted more than The Genius.
Yeah, if you have no background on The Genius, it's a 2013 competition show that essentially they brought a group of 13 celebrities together. 13 celebrities together, and they play what is essentially Korean board games and little strategy games.
They're kind of mind strategy games.
Yeah, mind strategy games, and then some actual board games. And whoever, until there's only one person standing.
Yeah, and so the way this show is formatted is there's a main match every episode, which is a game that everyone plays. And then there's a winner of that. And then depending on the rules of each individual game, it depends each time. The winner can pick someone to save from elimination, or if there's joint winners, they all get safety from elimination, and then they send one person into the death match, which is
whoever
the elimination
lost.
round.
Yeah, someone lost the worst.
Yeah. Sometimes the winner just gets to pick who they want to send there.
Yeah, sometimes the winner, and then it's sometimes whoever lost. It depends on the game.
And then whoever is getting sent to the death match picks another person, and then they will go head-to-head in sort of this elimination-style game, which it differs each episode what that game actually is. They repeat a few games on here.
Yeah, you'll see when we go through each episode, but they kind of have a rotation of about 4 games that they just go through on rotation.
Yeah. And it's just really fun. It's so fun. I think the cast of this show makes it really fun. Because not only is the strategy in the games entertaining, it's the cast really knows how to make it really fun.
And the thing with the cast is that the cast each bring their own dynamics, each bring their own personality, but none of the cast is that typical reality show, there's this one villain who we're all we hate, and then there's the one that has no idea what they're it's everyone sort of is everything. There's some episodes where this person's gonna play the villain, quote unquote villain, or gonna be the one that's trying to be sneakier. Then there's the ones that, everyone kind of did every bit of that stereotypical reality TV show format.
Mm-hmm. I really like how fluid the strategy is over all of the episodes, because if, you get screwed over by someone in one episode, it doesn't necessarily mean, you can't work with them the next episode. So I really appreciate, how willing and, open the cast is to just change it up every week. And I think
also,
that's another thing that makes it fun.
Yeah, no one took it too personally. No one was because I feel if you did The Genius in America, or if you did The Genius in any Western, there would just be there would be screaming matches if someone did the little things that they did on The Genius. There would just be full-on screaming matches about how everyone sucks. Mm-hmm. And you can't tell me I'm wrong about that. That would be the truth.
No. It would be horrendous as an American show.
Yeah, they would just I don't care if they did, because they would have done it. They would have had they would have done it with celebrities. They would have found some celebrities that were willing to do it, and they would just been gone insane.
Oh, because the celebrities they would be able to find to do an American version would be your Real Housewives type people, and you're just thirsty for attention, who live off of drama people, and it would just be awful.
But I feel they could probably find a bunch of athletes, maybe this, maybe that, but I just feel the way reality TV in America has to work is that it has to go to like an 11, and there just has to be like a screaming match, and there has to be this, and there has to be a bunch of cursing. Whereas in this, I think it's just genuinely a lot of like, it's sort of like groups of friends. If you're playing a game with a group of friends, someone is gonna screw someone over in a board game to win.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that after it's all over, you're not back to like, it's a game, we're fine. This was a game.
Right. Everyone
No
is just
one...
like so chill at the end of the day about it. It's that I think it
Maybe...
makes it nicer because you don't get a lot of like really high stress like types of, I don't know, blowouts between people. You never see that in the show at all.
No. I also think it's just a difference in like, I feel like that would have made for like super, like they know their careers need to continue.
Yeah, oh, that would, and for Korean society, if you
they
straight up have a yelling match at someone, that's like career ending for you.
Because look, if I have everyone that was on this show, like we have like a professional poker player, an auctioneer, we have like, isn't Jun Suk like involved in politics?
He is an actual politician.
Like he's an actual politician.
He is an actual politician.
So like, if you're just screaming, and he went home first because he got screwed over. We'll get to. Like we have like the reason we're doing this. Sungyu was in it, which is why we can tangentially. Which is why Sungyu from Infinite was in it. Which is why we can tangentially talk about it on this podcast.
I also feel compelled now to tell my K-pop origin story because The Genius is very much my K-pop origin story. So the reason I found this show is because there is a really strong like cult following for the show within like a very specific niche of like the hardcore reality competition show fandom, so I'm really into the show Survivor. And I listen to a lot of podcasts about Survivor. Rob has a podcast in particular. And I would listen to their podcasts and they would always start like dropping references to the show called The Genius. It's like a South Korean like variety show. And I was like, you know what? I might as well like give it a try. And so I watched the first season and I absolutely loved it. And I absolutely fell in love with Sungyu. And so I decided I wanted to look into his group's music, Infinite, and I ended up actually liking it a lot. And so from there, I just got like really into Infinite's music, and then I sort of fell down like the K-pop rabbit hole because I would just get recommended videos from like tons of other groups in my YouTube since then. So that's really how I got into K-pop, was through this show.
Yeah, mine was almost the opposite way. I got into K-pop, became a big fan of Infinite, and then like somehow scrolling through back when The Genius used to be on YouTube, because I don't know at some point The Genius got taken down off of YouTube, but there was a point where all episodes of the first season of The Genius were on YouTube, and I just somehow at randomly just started watching all of them and realized, oh damn, this show is amazing. Like I just was like, I couldn't stop watching it. I'm like, oh, this is really good. And I've liked certain, and it's just a show that you can just, it's very easy to watch. It's both really intriguing and you're invested in the games, but also, like, it's a calm watch. You're not sitting there watching people actually struggle for, you know, it's low stakes because they're already people with
They're
careers.
Already famous.
They're already famous. Like, I'm not that concerned that this is going to ruin them.
Mm-hmm. I also want to say that, so when we're talking about the show, we're not going to come at it from, like, a really hardcore strategic, like, viewpoint. That's not really what we're here to talk about. I did want to plug, another podcast called the Diamond Colin podcast, who did do like a very strategic breakdown of The Genius. So if you're interested in more of that view on The Genius, I'll link that in the description. But we're here mainly to talk about it from like an entertainment standpoint, like purely, and how much fun we had and how like sort of the fun storylines in the show sort of progressed over the episodes.
Yeah, that, if we're not super gonna go in depth, because there's nothing we could say about the strategy that has not already been said in the 7 years that the show has been out. It's been 7 years. I think most of the intense hardcore criticism has been said, but I think I just want to bring the show back up because I think it's sort of a precursor to a lot of the shows that you even see now. Like, I could almost say like that show almost inspired something like a Crime Scene
and Busted. Yeah,
those are the two big ones for me. And Busted's on Netflix, and I know a lot of people watch that.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed Busted a lot too.
I would love for them to put The Genius on Netflix. Like, that would be So fun.
Netflix, get those
Get the
7-year-old
Genius
rights. Get
Yeah.
those rights, Netflix.
Get those
that
rights
show.
to the Genius.
Make
All
the
4
Genius
seasons.
easier to find, because we spent a while looking for where we found the Genius.
We did.
You can find. I don't want to link it because I'm afraid that someone will take it down.
It's
But
very hard
you
to
can
find on the
find
internet these
You
days.
can find it. Take your time. You'll find it. Go through some Reddit posts.
Yes.
Go through some other things. You'll find the Genius. I just don't want to link it because I'm afraid it'll just get somehow taken down.
I guarantee you it's worth it going
It's
through the
very
work to
worth
watch
it.
the show. It's so worth it. It's such a good show. As we haven't made that clear already.
Yeah, we just... So do you want to go through the episodes?
Yeah, right. So we start off with episode 1, which is the 1, 2, 3 game, which is so I've seen all 4 seasons of the show. Sammy hasn't seen past season 1 yet, but I think the 1, 2, 3 game is probably the most boring of the first episode shows. I do think it's a good introductory game for the show just because of the format and how it sort of requires you to collaborate with other people in the show. But overall, it's like there's nothing super fun and exciting to watch about it because you're literally just sitting there like at a table like playing a game of war, essentially.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a boring game. Like, if you want to just... It's a very simple game if you want to just explain it really quick, because I...
Yeah. So everyone has... I think they get 9 cards, right?
They get
so they
9
have
cards.
3 1s, 3 2s, and 3 3s. And what you have to do is you have to play a game with another person where each one of you shows a card at the same time, and whoever has the higher card wins. And then you discard those cards completely. And so what ends up happening is because there is a odd number of cards, someone is going to end up with 1 card at the end, and then that person is the loser.
Yep, because if there's a time limit to play all the games, and whoever still has a card in their hand at the time limit is the loser. Which they realize pretty quickly that with the amount of cards, one of them is going to be the automatic loser.
Yeah. And then whoever has the most points from like playing these games of war or whatever is the winner. And then it is also possible to have joint winners as well if you both have the same amount of points. Yeah.
So, who won? It was Jin
Sungyu.
Sungyu won.
Yeah. Or wait.
We scroll to our chart.
Didn't Sungyu win?
Sungyu and Jinho won. Both
okay,
of
so they
them
had joint
won.
wins.
They were joint winners because they had the same number of points at the end. Because... And Jinho was a pro gamer. So I'm like... he was... Those two won the... Spoiler, those two win the most amount of matches. And one of them's a pro gamer. And then Sungyu is somehow so good at this game. He's so good at... Like,
I think that Sungyu has just some type of, like... charisma around him that makes people want to work for him, and they actively want Sungyu to win in some cases.
They actively
thing
want
I
him
give
to
up
win,
is
but also I think that they somehow underestimate him and that they do not think he's that intelligent. Because he can come off like an idiot.
He'll just go around asking questions, and he's like, "What's happening? Like, I don't understand the game." And they're just like, "Oh, poor Sungyu.
Oh,
this is
we're
like a
gonna
lost
guide
baby."
This poor boy through a difficult, we're gonna guide him through a difficult challenge. When really, I think he understands much more than he lets on.
Sungyu is very
he's
smart.
So good at playing. We'll get to my favorite episode. My favorite episode of this show it revolves entirely around Sungyu, and it's amazing.
Sungyu, in a way, is the star of this
season. He is. Which
Sungyu
I get why that you then
fantastic.
Went on to Love Infinite.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like that game, it's very simple, and I think that's what you needed for a show like this. It kind of there's 13 people. That's a very large cast. So, like, it let everybody kind of put out strategy, and it let sort of things be simple. So
I will say that it's better in the fact because the other 3 first episode games they have are much, much more complicated strategically. Yeah. So you do have to spend, the same amount of time trying to understand the game as you are trying to learn the new characters. And so at least with this, it focuses more of the time on learning these new people who are going to be in the season.
Yeah, I think also that it's just very simple to... The first 3 episodes, especially, which is, I think, the first 3 episodes of the show are kind of the weakest episodes. They're very slow.
I feel like there's a couple towards the end that are a little weak, too. The middle is really strong.
The middle is the best part, but I think there's a couple in the beginning that I think are just very slow. And I think that's mainly because they wanted to sort of keep it's a large cast, so they wanted to keep the focus on the to put it, the people, the characters, they're real people. But they wanted to sort of keep that emphasis, and just no one really, like, there's a couple people that maybe faded toward the background, but, like, everyone had, like, a moment in this show. Everyone has, like, a moment where they, like, either did something ridiculous or ridiculously smart.
Yeah.
Or both. Really,
both.
Everyone had one and one.
Like Jinho's got like the ridiculously smart and also just the most ridiculous thing to happen on the episode.
Yeah. He completely screwed over
oh man,
Jin-suk. He completely screws him over in this game. Like, he's just
it's
like,
so funny.
Not thinking that he would be the lose, like, he was gonna get picked, because Jin-suk ends up getting picked, right? He's not the one that loses.
Yeah, Minso loses, and then she picks
loses,
Jin-suk, yeah.
Mainly because Sungyu screwed over Minso.
Sungyu screwed her over, yeah, because Kyungran convinced him to screw her over.
So yeah, both of the people in this deathmatch got screwed over, because Jin-suk got screwed over by Jinho, and Sungyu screwed over Minso. And so I think that they just both ended up in a situation, and the deathmatch for this episode was rock, paper, scissors, essentially. Both of the people in deathmatch play rock, paper, scissors against all of the other contestants, and whoever gets it's not the amount of times you win, it's the longest streak. So essentially, the remaining people get to choose who they like more.
Yeah, essentially.
Essentially, they choose who they like more, because they can just decide, oh, I'm gonna be the one. It ends up being the last person too. It's very quickly decided.
This is the fun moment of the season where Sang-min steals Jinho's garnet during the game somewhere, and then uses his own garnet, Jinho's garnet, to bribe Jinho to keep Minso in the game. Because Jinho just left his garnet lying around, and Sang-min picked it up, and he's like, I guess I'm just gonna take this.
So, to explain, garnets are almost like the currency of the game. Like, everyone gets, I think, one garnet at the beginning?
They start off with one, yeah.
You start off with one, and then you gain them by, like, winning matches or winning different things. And you can also essentially
If you win a death match, you get the losing person's garnets, too.
Garnets, yeah. And then you can they can be exchanged at any time. So the big thing with this game, with this show, is that they use them essentially for bribery. They bribe everybody at some point, like later down the show, they just start bribing people with, like, you almost forget, like, it just becomes a currency thing where you're like, I'm like, who got what garnets? They just start promising people garnets, and I'm like, oh my god, what's happening? Someone has 20 garnets at the beginning of the episode. The next episode, they have 5 because they just gave them all away to save themselves. I'm like, what has happened? Luckily, at the beginning of every episode, they do, like,
they give you a garnet recap.
Quick recap of who has how much, and it varies wildly.
Oh, like, yeah, because Sungyu is just, like, rich in garnets, like, all the time.
Somehow
he just has all of them.
Garnets. He has all of them. Okay, so that was the first episode. The first episode was very slow, but I really enjoyed it.
It's fun, yes.
The second episode was the election game, where essentially you have candidates, essentially. Anybody can become, I think, does everyone start as a candidate, or do they?
Well, anyone can decide they want to be a candidate to run for president or whatever this thing is, yeah. But and then you can drop out at any point as well. You can drop out at any point. That.
Whoever gets the most number of votes wins. Whoever of the candidates gets the least number of votes is automatically into deathmatch. So anyone that's voting essentially are safe from being automatically in, but they're the people that can be chosen to go in to the deathmatch. This show, this was a fun one. I enjoyed this.
This is, like, the absolute genius editing of this show is, like, really highlighted in this episode. This is, like, the epitome of that sort of flashback, like, oh, now we're going to show you the big twist at the end, type of thing that I love about the genius. It's, like, absolutely fantastic, the editing of this.
Because, again, you have, like, I think you have what is set out as the very simple plan of like, oh, we're all gonna come together, vote for this person. It's gonna, and that is just, it seems very surface level and simple. Yet in the background, I think, uh, Gura he was doing like, from the first edit, it looked like he wasn't
Yeah.
doing anything.
He was like sitting in a
He was
room just
sitting in a
pouting
room,
the whole
not,
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
doing nothing. And it was almost like he was gonna be
He was going to the death match,
he,
essentially.
not
It
going to
was
death
what
match,
it was
but it also
looking
seemed like, he was gonna go to the death match. It was just gonna be very simple. Turns out, nope. He somehow in the background just sort of got everybody to vote for, who won that episode?
Chang Yap.
Chang Yap. He somehow, he didn't
Gura
even get
had
them
a
to vote for
plan.
himself.
Yeah.
They wanted to vote for Chang Yap.
Gura had a plan, just nailed down, like set in stone. I think the edit said like an hour or like a half hour before anyone else even started planning any type of a strategy. And it's just like that. So that's why he was just sitting there and doing nothing the whole time, because he figured out his plan and he had everyone pulled in and all ready to do it while these other people like hadn't even started yet. It was
he
amazing.
Like, he knew his plan, and that was like other reality shows would just show you both plans going on at once, and that's less interesting. The real interesting bit is having the one plan set out and then realize that bait and switch. Hold on. Let's rewind and show you this is what actually happened.
Yes, this is not the first time that the show will do something as dramatic as that too. It's great.
It's
it really
what
is.
The show is known for, and I think it's why this show is one of my favorites. It's just because the editors are almost a character in themselves.
Yeah.
They decide what you know, and then what you don't know, like what you don't need to know. You'll know that later.
I also want to point out that this type of like editing, they like constantly will refer to in like when they talk about American reality shows like Survivor, and they wish that shows like Survivor and Big Brother would use this type of editing more, with like, oh, let's have a thing and then flashback to like 10 minutes ago to see like what actually happened, because I think it's really good dynamic way to tell a story, and it's also I think a lot more entertaining when you have like a big twist like that happening and then you find out what happens afterwards. And so the genius is really sort of an influence like when talking about these other like American reality shows, because it is so good.
I think a lot of like American reality shows would benefit from using that, because I've watched a couple and they're just they can almost get too bogged down with like everyone's different strategies get an equal amount of time. When like you can kind of condense. This show like really likes to condense everything to like, here's plot A, and then the background information we can just show later when it actually comes into play. Because he is just sitting around for most of that episode. And it's more fun to show it as a reveal than to have it, just go on.
Right, then you just sort of, what's happening. And it's more fun where it's like you find like the surprise result out of nowhere than sort of it rather being like which side is gonna win here. It's not as fun when it's more straightforward.
You're convinced that he's like that something, in a way the show kind of hints that something else is happening, but it just shows you absolutely nothing of it, that you're like, something's got to happen, like this is going too well, it's too simple, like what's happening.
I think that's the only downside of it, is if you sort of get into like that mindset, like genius, how the genius works now, and it's like, oh, this is too straightforward, something else has to be happening in the background, then the reveals are a little bit less interesting, but I still really enjoy them anyway.
I think the reveals are so good that it, like, even if you know a reveal is coming, I think that it's very hard to guess what it will be, because when you look at it, you're not gonna, like, I wasn't gonna guess that somehow it was gonna end up gonna be Chang Yup that was somehow gonna win. That's not the person that went into my head that would be winning this challenge.
Yeah. I also just want to mention that when the people go up, they have to like walk up to this podium to declare the fact that they're stepping down from candidacy or whatever. That Sang-min and Sungyu just give these like hilariously comedic, like, they try to like fake emotional speeches about, oh, this is such a hard decision, and it's, I have to come through a lot of thinking and to step down from candidacy or whatever.
Just they know how to keep the show entertaining. Like, the mind games are fun, but like there's always that levity, because it's like they're having fun. This is just a fun day for them.
And they just play like this hella dramatic music in the background of that scene, and then like once Sunggi's done giving his speech, like Sangmin just runs over and they have like a hug.
Their adorable little friendship.
Oh my god, I love that. I love their relationship. It's so funny. It's so cute. It's one of the highlights of this season.
Oh yeah, it's just absolutely adorable. I also think that like this show just sort of put people in like different types of people that don't usually interact, but that you would see interact later in other shows. Like Sungmin,
he's on Knowing Brothers right now.
He's on Knowing Brothers now. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
If he's on
funny.
Knowing Brothers.
So Infinite went on an episode of Knowing Brothers. This was back in like a long time ago. When Infinite still did stuff. Yeah, when they weren't all in the military. One of the things that the members, like the cast of Knowing Brothers, had to do was to name all of the Infinite members based on their picture. And Sangmin only knew who Sunggi was out of Infinite because he was on The Genius with him.
He better still know.
And then
they had an adorable relationship.
The better part is that he named the rest of the Infinite members like Hope, Faith, and like Happiness, and just like a completely ridiculous list of names.
Now imagine that Infinite was named Hope, Faith, Happiness, Charity.
Yeah, it was.
And Sungyu. And then you have Pong does.
Oh, please take care of my refrigerator. Because he's marketed as a webtoon artist here, and he goes
he is a webtoon artist.
And then now he's like a professional. He's like a TV chef now. Like just made a complete
second
pivot in his career. Yeah.
The deathmatch of this episode was just another rock paper scissors. The same thing happens. Essentially, they pick who they like more, which is why I think that this is maybe my least favorite deathmatch.
Yeah, it's not the most fun.
They liked.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because there's not much that the actual people in the deathmatch can do. It's kind of out of their hands. And so I think that really eliminates the whole purpose of having a deathmatch to begin with. But this is a fun thing where like the Garnet bribery is also here again. Yeah, because Yuram like straight up writes a contract. I think it's with Sangmin that she'll give him garnets if he keeps her in the game through rock paper scissors or whatever.
Yeah. And she does win.
And she makes it like pretty substantially farther in the game too, so.
Yeah, she makes it very far. Mm-hmm. Which is good for her. I think there was the beginning of the strategy bits of this game, which is like, oh wait, we can bribe people. Cool.
Alright, so episode 3 is called Abundance and Famine. And honestly, this is one of the more boring games here. But I don't like this game. You have 2 lands. You have like an abundance land and a famine land. And like abundance land has like 5 bread.
I think they have 6 bread and 3 bread. It's 6 bread in abundance land, 3 bread in famine land. And everyone sort of divides and goes into each room. But then the bread gets divided amongst everybody that's in the room.
Yeah. And if you have more people than bread, then nobody gets bread.
If there's less people than the amount of bread, like if 3 people go into abundance land, then each of you gets 2 bread.
But it's only if it can be divided evenly. If there's any extra bread, it just gets like thrown out.
And there's like 5 rounds, and it's not the easiest game to follow.
It's not. And so Teacher Cha essentially gathers up like most of the people in the game.
They follow him for all of these games. Teacher Cha, up to this point, has sort of been like the father figure. Everyone has sort of followed his plans, and they have never come to fruition.
The funny thing is that they follow his plan in election game, and then they completely lose that game. Because Gura's plan is the one who wins, and then they follow him in this game, and then he gets eliminated this episode.
Not just that, but like he completely loses.
They win the actual game because they iced Gura, Sangmin, and Sungyu out of the game, but then he just gets eliminated anyway.
Teacher Cha vulnerable because Sungyu is thrown into the deathmatch, and they're like, "Oh, he won't pick him. That's why they didn't give him immunity." And then Sungyu's automatically like, "No, I'm taking him out."
And I'm just gonna say it. Teacher Cha has no idea what he's doing the entire time he's on this show.
He thinks he does.
No idea what he's doing.
The funny part is I think he does. I think in his mind he thinks he's doing well.
Yeah, he thinks he knows
Reality's
everything
different.
about every game, but he really just is
None
like
of
a
his plans, like his plan for this game worked. His plan for election year, we got completely played.
yeah
Election game was
election game.
completely
Yeah.
played.
hmm
It was just
And
fun.
his strategy for this game is essentially, well, let's just make sure everyone has no bread. And it's just like, well, that's not really a winning game here that we're playing. This is like a race for last place, and you're gonna hope that like you're in and then yeah, and like you're essentially just sacrificing someone from your alliance anyway. So there's like, because you have such a big amount of people you're trying to save, but you know one of these three people you're forcing to lose is going to pick one of you anyway. So it's like the strategy is just
It's
not
not a
good.
good strategy, and plus, like, it's almost that cockiness of like, no, I'm not gonna get picked. I'm like, no, he could get, like, you're almost putting yourself as more likely to get picked.
This is several times they've done this strategy. It's like we have to pick someone for the deathmatch who won't pick this one specific person, and then they always pick that person. Like it happens in the next episode. The same thing happens.
Yeah, because you can't just put, because that's the smart thing to do. The smart thing to do is to pick the strongest person. Not even the strongest person, but pick the person that, like, Teacher Cha can make an alliance with anybody because everyone trusts him that he knows what he's doing, even if reality isn't necessarily on his side. But like everyone like sort of is on his side, so like his alliance, he always makes like a massive alliance.
But Sungi wins the deathmatch. In the
So he wins the
deathmatch,
deathmatch, which is what was that?
tactical
That was
Yunori.
that was tactical Yunori.
Mm-hmm. Which it's kind of a hard game to follow.
Mm-hmm.
So Yunori, honestly, the easiest way I can try to give you like an analogy for it is and if you play it normally, it's kind of like Candyland, because essentially all you're doing is you're throwing these sticks, and then depending on the way the sticks end up like face up or face down is like that's how many spaces you move on the board. And normally it's like completely random. You just throw the sticks, and whatever spaces you get or however they land is how you move. This one is called Tactical Yunori because you and your partner, and then the other person who's you're playing against and their partner, you get to decide what you're throwing out on the Ute stick. So you're trying to do it in strategically to get yourself in like certain, if you want to move through like shortcuts or you want to move like a certain number of spaces on the board, like you want to sort of plan for it, is then so that's how the tactical part of it comes in.
Yeah,
It's overall kind of a hard game to follow though.
it is a hard game to follow, especially if you're not the biggest. Like, I was not as familiar with even regular Yunori,
Mm-hmm.
nor even Candyland, but like, yeah, I'm not that familiar. I've never played Candyland, which is a weird thing to say now.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I never played Candyland, but I never had it as a kid. But like, Yunori is just a very like that's a simple enough game that I understand. Tactical Yunori is just adding more rules to a game I'm already not that familiar with. So I'm like, oh no, I'll just watch this, and it's entertaining. Eventually, you kind of get the hang of it because they do play it, I think, 3 more times.
Yeah, they played a lot.
They play that one a lot. They play that one and
Indian poker, they play a
Indian
lot.
poker a lot. Indian poker is actually might be my favorite one, but we'll get
That
there.
that's the best death match I think to come out of this season is Indian poker.
It's a really good death match, and I think it just shows that like in this game, like you can win and still lose
Yeah.
entirely.
Mm-hmm. And I do also like this like sort of format of deathmatch too, because it puts a lot more of the actual chance of you staying in is like on yourself now rather than just the other players in the game. Yeah. And so I like that a lot more.
Yeah, yeah, I like it much. Yeah, I like it much more than the rock paper
Rock
scissors.
paper scissors. Yeah. I think the actual name for that is like the winning streak game. I think.
It's rock paper scissors.
It's rock, paper,
everything
scissors.
in K-pop and Korean culture. Everything is decided by rock paper scissors.
Yes.
And I'm anytime you watch any kind of K-pop variety show, reality
Yeah,
show,
like
anything,
who's gonna wash the dishes? Let's play rock paper scissors.
who's gonna actually do this extremely difficult task?
Yeah.
Rock paper scissors. Any kind of dance practice, any kind of punishment, it's all like
Yeah,
rock,
it's always
paper,
rock
scissors
paper
tournament.
scissors.
Mm-hmm. So the next episode was the zombie game.
Yes, the zombie game. It's fun.
It's a fun game. It's very
So-
basic.
It's very basic. So, essentially in this game, there are two zombies of the players left in the game that are chosen just completely by random.
It's similar to werewolf, I would say.
It is. And then there's this, like, big, like,
Orb?
circular orb that, like, is glowing orb in the middle of the room. And once around, you have to go and, like, officially touch someone else. If you touch a zombie, you get turned into a zombie. And if you touch another human, you get, a point or a heart or whatever.
Yeah, you
Same
get
thing.
a point. Yeah.
And
every person also has one antidote. So if they think that they touch a zombie and they drink the antidote, they go back to being human. But if you drank it already and then you touch a zombie, then you have no out, you're a zombie. And I think the zombies win if everyone becomes a zombie.
Right. And then, so the other way it works is that the human, if not everyone is a zombie, the human with the most points is the winner, and then the human with the least points goes to the death match. Which is very interesting way
That
to
essentially
have
the zombies
game set
can't
up.
lose.
Yeah. It's set up for the zombies to win.
It's set up for the zombies to win, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, the zombies are entirely by chance anyway.
Yeah. Oh, you can also buy an extra antidote in this game
with
for
your
3 garnets.
Yeah, with your garnets.
Right.
Because everything in this game costs money. So this is also where they begin to introduce that lovely little love story.
Oh man. It's sort of been there in the other
It's been
couple
there in the background. They have
But
this,
it's-
like they make
it's
them introduce
weird.
themselves. People look at them weird. Like people
Yeah.
like the older players like look at them like something happened. I'm like they met a day ago.
Yeah, there's this weird, bizarre love story between Changyup and Jungmoon that goes
So
absolutely
Changup
nowhere.
Yeah.
It goes
Changup
nowhere.
is an actor. Jungmoon is
I think she's just a student. I don't even
she's
know if she's a singer.
Mensa. No, she's part of Mensa too. She's part of Mensa.
Mm-hmm.
So like she's very. So it's like they do that thing where it's like they just keep they replay them looking at each other like that 3-time editing.
Yeah,
Over the past
we love
few
that.
episodes, that 3-time editing.
We
is
love
fun.
that repeat editing.
It's like I don't need to see this 3 times in a row. I don't need to see it like sped up, slowed down, and regular.
That's
time.
a staple of like every single show.
It is every
that is
single show.
Korean. That's like a Korean show staple.
It's hilarious though. And they both end up going into the death match together, which is
So they pick Jungmoon for the death match because they think she's the least likely person to pick Changyup because they have a weird love thing happening. And then she picks him anyway.
She picks him anyway, which
and then she cries when he gets eliminated. And I'm like, you picked him for the death match.
Yeah, the fun
your
part is like
fault.
they play tactical Yonori again, and like when it's completely certain, because there's a point in the game where like it's certain that he can't win, and they just have to finish the game out even though he can't win. She just starts crying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why did you pick him?
And I'm like, you really didn't need to pick him. If you were gonna be so upset he was eliminated, you could have picked anybody else other than him.
I look at because we have the chart open, and there ends up being actually 5 winners of this game. Like 5 people end up being winners because I think they were the safe, not zombie humans.
They got a joint win as humans.
They got a joint
is how
win.
they cheated the system of the humans winning.
But like she still had 3 other people she could have picked. Why did you pick him?
Like I pick Eunji.
Eunji I would have picked
out of those ones.
Yeah, of everybody else, Eunji I would have picked. Sungyu I feel like is too.
Sungyu just won a death match against Teacher Cha, so I'm not picking Sungyu that round. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's.
Girl.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have I think that it was just she picked the wrong person, and then I think immediately regretted it.
Yeah.
She's like, why the hell did I do that? Because it's just bad.
She knows that she got picked because she seems least likely to pick Changyup, and she's like, well, I'll show you. I'll pick him anyway. Just to, like, make a point. Yeah. I'm just like, oh my god. It's weird.
Then she cries.
And then they have that, like, weird, like, dramatic deathmatch editing that they do where they play, like, really dramatic music in the background. It's like, oh, look at the couple. They're, like,
They're in love.
breaking apart now. And I'm just like,
Yep.
why?
Are we done with this episode?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to say here. Also,
No,
I think
it's a simple game.
Sungyu actually does a lot of really good strategy there, which I will say.
Oh yeah, he does.
He's being real smart, like doing like really smart things in that game.
I don't think there's ever an episode of this show where he does any kind of bad like a strategy that's like not at least doesn't make sense on paper.
A lot of the times I think Sungyu is following strategy from somebody else, but in this one he does a lot of things like his independently that I think were really
he doesn't
really smart.
win, but at least he's not in the death match.
Right. I think that's the way you play the genius is you play to not be in the death match. Like, that's all you really need to do.
Playing to win is also putting a target on your back. As you see from the fact that at some point, Junho is in, like, 4 death matches. Like, he's in, like, 3 death matches.
He's in, like, 4 in a row, or, like, 3 or 4 in a row, yeah.
Yeah. So the next episode is Scamming Horse Race. This one is kind of a mess. So Scamming Horse Race...
a disaster all over the place.
It's like that. Essentially, it's a horse race. It's like a tabletop horse race. I think there's 9 horses.
The results of the horse race are already decided.
Yep.
And everyone gets like hints on who is going to win
faster,
or like how they're going to place. And so you have to sort of gather the clues in order to figure out who you need to bet on during the course of the race. Because how the horses are moving during the course of the actual race is like completely irrelevant.
And up to a certain point, there's like a line where if the horses cross that line, you can't bet on them anymore. So you want us to put all your bets when it's clear that they're gonna win. I think it's kind of a chaotic episode because it's like everyone's just trying to piece together the information. Some people don't even don't fully understand the information that they were given.
Oh, there's a scene where Sangmin's trying to tell Gura his clue, and Gura is just not getting it at all.
It's like, what are you, like, what is this clue that you're giving me? What does it mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like... It's actual chaos.
And there's, like, actually no alliances happening, because people are just running all over the place the entire game.
They don't actually, like, sit down and have any kind of calm discussion about, like, what they thought was in their clues. They just kind of are just running for themselves. There's no alliance in this game, which I think is why it feels more chaotic than usual.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have just Sungyu spending money.
This starts the the saga of Sungyu spending his garnets on literally anything he possibly can. It's because he has a stupid amount of garnets at all points in time during this game. He has the most garnets always.
And then, but somehow he wastes all of them, and at the
end of the
and then, like, still has a ridiculous amount.
Like,
where are you gaining these garnets from?
He just gets them all the time.
Mm-hmm. So at the end of the episode, it ends up being another rock, paper, scissors match.
Mm-hmm. But surprise, there's a catch.
And surprise, it ends up being Jungmoon and... who is it? Oh, Yuram.
Oh, again, yeah.
Yeah, it's the 2 of them in the deathmatch. And surprise, it's rock, paper, scissors. And surprise, all of the eliminated contestants are back and they get to be a part of it. So surprise, the love saga continues. It's back. It's happening.
It's back again. We needed to milk this fake love saga as much as we possibly could here.
And then they spend like a good 3 or 4 minutes. Like, cause rock paper scissors, at that point in the game, they all kind of figure out who they want to like put into, like, who they want to be there, and it's just like they spend like 3 or 4 minutes just with those 2 having like a connection. They're just like looking at each other, and he still like saves her. He still essentially puts down.
The eliminated players don't actually do anything for this game. They don't decide anything.
They don't decide. They just kind of go along with it. Go along with both of them, and then it's, I think, who ended up...
It's Sangmin, I think.
Decides. Yeah. Sangmin decides who
he wants to get rid of.
Yeah, he wants to get rid of Jungmoon.
Which I get that.
I get it, too. I just find it really funny that I'm just like, we're still milking this.
We're milking it as much as possible.
That's the
we
only
didn't get
part
enough
of the show
out of
where
it.
Where I'm like, oh no, this is where... There always has to be, like, one weird romance in all of these shows. Like, all of these reality shows have one strange little romance
Oh,
thing.
there's gonna be weird romances in seasons 2, 3, and 4 too.
Exactly.
It's still
So
there.
it's like,
It's gonna be. It's still gonna be there.
But it's also like the least amount of romance, because I don't think either of the people involved. Because the best part with Korean variety show romance is that, like, the two people involved never are like they never actually participate. It's the people around them
Yeah, it's
that
like,
are
oh
like,
my
oh
god,
no, these two.
look how cute. Yeah.
Look how adorable. It's like, it's because they are two of the youngest contestants. So it just kind of looks like a bunch of, like, adults, like, looking at their kids like, maybe they should be, like, oh, those two, they should be together. Like, they're shipping their children.
Oh man.
They're two of the youngest people. I think they might be the two youngest there.
I think Sungyu is the youngest at the time.
They're all
I don't know if is Sungyu younger
similar.
than either of them, because they call him the maknae at some point in time, but I think that might be after this episode when both of them are gone.
They're all similar in age. I don't know where
Yeah.
Sungyu falls in that, but, like, they're similar in age, and I think that maybe production said you can't do this with Sungyu.
Oh, so Sungyu was our age when he played this game, and now he's like 30 years old.
Sungyu was 30. Jesus.
Yeah, and it makes me feel old.
Yeah, but, like, in general, I think that Sungyu was also an idol, and 2013 was, like, peak Infinite. So I think they were like,
they couldn't
do this with Sungyu.
Oh, they couldn't do it with
the other
Sungyu.
two. Do it with the other two.
They Jinho mentions this thing because in one of the previous episodes, like, Jinho just tells Sungyu to piss off at some point in time, and then apparently he got attacked by in-spirits or whatever for it.
I mean, that sounds about right.
I mean, that's on par for K-pop fandom for sure.
Especially if you think about
2013
like,
K-pop fandom.
Well, not just that, but like 2013 Infinite was doing.
That was peak Infinite. This is peak Infinite, yeah.
What the hell did Infinite release in 2013?
The Chaser.
Chaser. That was the Chaser?
That was the Chaser. 2013 was the Chaser.
Okay. They couldn't do this type of love relationship with
Sungyu. That would have.
But also, I think Sungyu was doing
bad.
too good in the game to need that.
It's like Jungmoon and Changyap are both not doing strategically anything exciting.
They're followers. They're
so
followers of other people.
That is their contribution to this show is their fake love connection.
Yep. I thought it was funny.
It's really funny. It's hella unnecessary, but it's just hilarious. Yeah.
Yep. So the next episode is my favorite episode of The Genius. It really is.
This is so good. It's such a good episode.
It's the best episode. It's called Catch the Burglar. So essentially you have a big village and a small village. The big village, I think, holds 5. The small village holds 3. And 1 burglar.
And that the burglar is assigned at random at the beginning of the game.
Each person sends 1 person outside, and then everyone goes to sleep. And then the burglar steals 1 gold from every person in the
village they're in.
In the village that they're in. Unless they're outside. If they had sent outside, they steal nothing. So when everyone wakes up, and then the 2 people that are outside switch villages. They go to each other's village. And then the cycle repeats itself, and you get an update on... Because everyone starts out with 10 gold, and the burglar starts out with 0 gold. So they add 1 up per day. Mm-hmm. So at the end of, I think, every 3 nights or 2 nights?
I think it's 2.
I think it's 2 nights. You get an update about gold, but you don't know who is assigned to what. It's like A, B, C, D, E, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, you just see letters and how many gold.
And how many gold they have. So it kind of gives you an idea of, like, oh, the burglar... We didn't send the burglar out because we're all missing gold. So this game is really funny because they figure out who the burglar is so quickly. It's so obvious. It's
impossible to lose this game if you're the burglar, I'm pretty sure. Like, you're winning this game every time.
The burglar only technically... So whatever village has the burglar in it, at the end of the game, when the game is completely done, loses. The village and then the burglar only wins if they have the most amount of gold in comparison to everybody. Yeah. But it's almost designed for the burglar to win, same as how it was designed for the zombies to win in the other game. Mm-hmm.
Because there's no way you're getting both villages to send the burglar back and forth every single day. Because the strategy is if you have the burglar, you just keep the burglar.
Until
and then
the
you send
last
them
turn.
away the last round, yeah.
Yep. Even if you're losing gold every time, you're not gonna lose.
It doesn't matter, yeah.
Yeah, you're not gonna lose.
The gold means nothing.
Because it ends up being Jinho and Gura in the small village together. And Sungyu is the burglar. But Sungyu essentially tells them very quickly that he admits that he's the burglar.
Well, Sungyu ends up in the big village, and then on the third night, the big village sends Sungyu to the small village, and then Kyungran and Sangmin are over there, and Sungyu's like, "Hey, I'm the burglar," and neither of them believe him.
And then right after he goes, the next turn, they're like, "Oh my god, he
Sungyu's
was the burglar."
Yeah.
And then the big village, I think, takes like maybe another day or two to realize.
The big village is just like 30 minutes behind on the strategy of what's happening. The small village sees the numbers and immediately knows what's happening. And the big village takes like several minutes to figure it out.
Because they think about it and then they're like, well, we didn't, so did we not send the bird? Like, they don't fully process what's happening, that they keep sending Sungyu out. And like, it's not, like, they're not getting gold. And then when they finally realize it, they're like, oh no, they just start kissing up to Sungyu. It's hilarious.
And then, so once the small village realizes their mistakes, they each get sent over to the big village at some point. One at a time. And then they just start begging Sungyu. They're just like, please save us.
Please let me stay.
Yeah.
Please.
And here's the Sangmin Sungyu dynamic here again, where Sangmin's really just trying to bribe Sungyu with garnet.
This is where it really shines. This is where it really becomes like
Sangmin is like on his knees, like begging Sungyu for help.
It's adorable.
The big village is really just a hot mess this entire game, because I don't understand how the big village allowed the entire small village to move to the big village, and now they're just winning the whole time because they have the majority over there, and they can just like put all the other people back in the small village, and it's
that didn't make it. Yeah, that was
bizarre.
Just a bad. I think that they got a little cocky and didn't like fully. That game was a mess with the big village, but I think that
I think it's because Gura's like the head of the big village, and he's like, oh, we need to send other people away so they save their gold, and it's like that's not the strategy though.
That's not the strategy.
That's not what you need to do.
And then somehow Gura finds himself in the small village with Jinho.
With Jinho, yeah.
And the two of them are like, well.
And then Gura gets upset because Jinho and Poong play rock, paper, scissors to see who's gonna go back to the big village, or something. And it's just like
it was weird, like that. Turn
he's
was
weird.
Odd.
It's weird. Yeah,
that turn was odd. They started getting like super intense with each other. It was very weird, but it's still my favorite episode because I think it's enough of a mess. Because I like how just crazy and insane it is, while still being like they figured it out. They figured out this game very quickly.
Bad strategy all around.
It was bad strategy from everyone that wasn't Sungyu, who realized I have this entire village.
Sungyu could literally just sit there.
He didn't do anything.
And then he actively has the small village bribing him with garnets the entire time to help them out. And he's like, sure, I'll take more garnets. Like,
sure, I know exactly what I need to do.
I mean, if I was Sungyu, like, that's what I would do. Like, it's like, why are you going to listen to the big village just for the principle? Like, I'll take the side that's going to willingly give me garnets for help. Yeah.
And this also then starts Sungyu's, like, streak of, like, being winning or immune.
Yes.
Like, for the next 4 games, he's either won or immune from the deathmatch.
Yes. He goes on a real hot streak here, yeah.
Yeah, he did so good in this game. So, yeah, that one was fun. And that's actually the first time we see Indian poker. This deathmatch with Jinho and Gura was the first time we see with Indian poker.
Yes.
Which is I love that.
This is such a good introduction to that deathmatch. Like,
because it's also, I think, maybe my favorite deathmatch.
Of this season, it for sure is my favorite
Of this
deathmatch.
season. Mm-hmm. So, essentially, Indian poker is everyone has... You essentially put one card on your head, and essentially it is from ace to 10, and whoever has the higher card, it's betting. You're betting garnets or tokens, and essentially whoever you can fold, and then whoever has the higher number wins that bet. And if you fold on a 10, you get a penalty.
Yes.
So, essentially,
I think that's a really interesting part of it, yeah.
Yes. Getting someone to fold on a 10 is super depressing. It's, like, super intense. And this
I
this
don't.
game
I
is
honestly don't remember a lot of the specifics about this death
I
match,
just
other than
remember
the
how
fact
I
that it's
felt
really
about it.
intense.
Yeah, I just remember I just felt like this was really like I was just watching it like it was some kind of sport. It
Yeah.
was just very intense. Like I was just like, you don't really think about like because no one plays it. Gura just plays it insane. He plays absolutely this. He plays this game absolutely insane. He's just betting ridiculous amounts, and it's just like he plays it so wild that I think it throws Jinho off.
Yeah. Jinho goes in with like actual strategy to play this game, and
Yeah.
then Gura is just doing whatever the hell Gura feels like doing.
I think you could almost feel like Gura resigned himself that he was probably gonna lose.
I have opinions on Gura on this show as a whole. Well, so I think he did fine, but I think he really starts to fall apart after the zombie game because if he is not in charge of what is happening, I think he just gives up. And like all strategy goes out the window because I think that's how Gura is as like personality wise too, having seen him in a lot of other Korean shows. He's very alpha and he's sort of in charge of the shows that he's on. And so when he's not in charge, I don't think he knows what to do and he sort of just gives up the entire game as a whole.
I could see that a lot, especially because again, in the first couple episodes, he was sort of the leader of his strategy, like his little like you saw like in the election game and all that. He sort of like led the winning strategy, but toward the end of his run, he sort of starts to fall. He falls completely apart.
All right, so episode 7 is Open Pass, and I really like this. This is a fun episode.
This
Just sort of, I think it's got a really like interesting, like fun progression of the story. So Open Pass is essentially each player is given like a deck of cards, and it has a bunch of numbers, and it has also like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division symbols in it. And so it starts off looking like completely like a game of luck. So you're supposed to take your deck, you give it to the dealer, and then she's going to shuffle them and show you your cards face down. And then she's going to go through each card and you're going to tell her if you want to open the card, which means she flips the card facing forward, and the number or the multiplication sign or the mathematical sign that's there gets added to your equation, or pass, and it means she just passes the card. And so what you want to do is you want to create like a math equation that will give you the largest number possible. And so also if you get any type of duplicate numbers like right next to each other, only the first number starting from like the left side is going to stay there. And the same thing goes for the math symbols. And if you have a math symbol as your final number, which means it's all the way at the front of your equation, it just turns into a 0. And that can like really screw over your entire strategy there.
Yeah, because if you only have multiplication 0 times anything,
yeah,
is still
then
0.
You're just like, yeah,
you have
it's just
0.
a 0. Mm-hmm. And so it's very confusing at first because everyone's just like, well, this is just like a luck game. Like there's like, it looks like there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And so what they do is they put up these extra cards you can buy. And so there are 3 garnets, 2 garnets, and 1 garnets. And the 3 garnet ones are obviously going to be the best cards. And then 2 garnet, a little bit less good. And then the 1 garnet pack is actually just the same pack that they're all given at the beginning. So what ends up happening over the course of this episode is that Sungyu, of course, being Sungyu, spends his garnets on a 2 and a 3 garnet pack of cards because that's what Sungyu does.
Because he's a baller.
He has all
At
the money and he doesn't care.
Yeah.
He's rich and he doesn't care about the garnets.
I feel like that's how Sungyu is in real life, too.
That's just a Sungyu personality.
That's just his personality.
Like, absolutely, 100%. I think there was like a article that he's got like one of the most expensive cars that like a K-pop idol owns or something like that.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
That sounds like a Sungyu thing to do.
Yeah. But anyway, Sungyu realizes that the 2 garnet cards, and actually also the 3 garnet cards as well, are a different color than the regular cards that they have. So the 2 garnet ones are red on the back, and then the 3 garnet ones are navy blue. And so the way the strategy would be optimal is that you put your different numbers or your multiplication signs or whatever using the different colored backing so you know which cards you want to use in the game.
Unfortunately, it's kind of not what he did.
The thing that makes me upset about this game is that Sungyu figures out the winning strategy of the game And then Eunji comes in and just reveals it to everyone else. And so now Sungyu is forced into this like alliance with Sangmin and Yurim and Eunji and Kyungran that he just like didn't want to be in.
That he kind of didn't want or need.
He didn't want to be in. As soon as he found out the strategy, he's like, I'm just going to go do this myself and not tell anyone else, which is what you should do.
Because this isn't really a game that you need.
You don't need anybody.
You don't need. This isn't one of the games where you need an alliance. This isn't a team game. It's an entirely individual game, and I think he learns his lesson for the next time they do that kind of game, which I think is even in the next episode.
Yeah, and so now that Sungyu is like forced into this alliance he doesn't want to be in, he's essentially tasked with like tag team distracting Jinho, so Jinho doesn't pick up on the strategy. Well, Kyungran and Yurim and Eunji, they take everyone's cards and they essentially just make all the decks for themselves. They make good decks. It's weird.
Make great decks, but like the good thing that I like is that I'm at least happy that they didn't win.
Yeah, I'm very happy they didn't win.
Jinho still ends up winning. He figures out his own strategy.
Jinho's the actual genius of this episode.
No, he's the actual genius of this show.
Well, yes, he is. He is indeed the genius, but
he is the genius, everybody. But like, I think that, like in general, he figures out exactly what he needs. He comes up with a completely different strategy, not with the backings, but I think with the symbols.
Yeah, so he realizes that the cards like aren't symmetric. So if you turn one of the cards just upside down, it looks different than if it's facing the other direction. And so essentially as he gets all of the cards he needs and he just places his multiplication signs upside down, and so they look different when you see them. It's like you have to look pretty hard for it, but they look different when the dealer actually shuffles them, which that's like the real genius move of this game. That's the genius move
here, and like everybody is just so, because he comes up with like a full equation, like it's an insane number.
Yeah.
And then everyone's just like, they can't figure out his own strategy.
No, because he has the two different colored cards, but he actually had no idea. He didn't realize that some of the cards were black and some of them were navy blue. And they were just trying to figure out how he was getting like this pretty much perfect equation out of it when when it didn't look them that there was any difference to the cards.
Yep. He's the actual genius of this show. He knows exactly what he's doing. And then I guess, like, he's an actual professional games player. Not these kind of games, obviously. He's a video game player. But, like, he's able to think on his feet very quickly.
I think it's hilarious, though, that, like, Sangmin and Sungyu just, like, tag team distracting Jinho. It's, like, where the girls are in the one room making all the decks. And then Jinho tries to come in. Sungyu takes them to the other room. They have a completely meaningless discussion. They talk about, like, Jinho's video game days because Sungyu was apparently a big fan of him, which is adorable.
That's actually the cutest thing.
And then after that, and he gets suspicious, Sungyu leaves the room, Sangmin comes in the room. And Sangmin just goes on this, like, story about how he gave a concert in LA and, like, came in a helicopter. And it's just like... Jinho just has this look on his face, and he's like, there's something real fishy happening right now.
What's happening?
Yeah.
Something's happening.
Jinho's already figured out the game, though, so he's like, I guess I'll play along with what's happening here.
He was like, I'll go along with this. I don't know what's happening, but I'll go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, no, like, they keep trying. I love when someone's strategies absolutely fall apart. Like, because they have, like, this perfect strategy. They screw over Sungyu in the meantime, because he comes out with, like, what, 25?
Him and Poong get exactly the same score, which is absolutely ridiculous in this game that two people would end up with exactly the same score.
Which is odd. And then Jinho ends up giving immunity to Sungyu, which I thought was really sweet.
I thought that was really cute.
Yeah.
Because Jinho was giving this speech and he's like, is there anyone out there who would be willing to work with me in the future? Because it seems like I don't have any allies right now. And then it's just
like, me.
Sunggyu's there and he like really wants to raise his hand, but then he's like, no, I shouldn't. And then he just like, but he like really wants to.
He wants to.
Yeah.
He wants to be like, me. I'll do it. I want to be your friend. I think Sungyu wants to be his friend.
They are. I think they are after the show. They were pretty good
became
friends.
Actual friends, but I think like in the show you could see like he actually wants to be his friend because I think they actually have like a really
it's
like
super
a sweet
cute
connection. It's so sweet. But yeah, then they do. It's Indian poker again, right?
Yeah.
It's
And then
Indian. It's more Indian
Poon
poker.
loses. It's fine.
Yeah, he bid his time. He did his time.
It makes sense that he leaves here. That seems right for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Though
not
I
adding
do.
a lot more to this show anymore.
No, he had his time. Like he was. A lot of this middle chunk is getting rid of a lot of the followers. People that just followed a lot of other people's plans, and like as with any reality show, like the leaders end up staying. Even though I wouldn't call Sungyu much of a leader, he just kind of like does his own thing, and then other people become a part of it.
Yeah. It's like he's always pretty like necessary like to the strategy of the game or whatever people are doing. So he's not necessarily the leader of the strategy, but he's like a very crucial
Part
part
of it.
of like what is happening every episode.
Mm-hmm.
We
So
want to go
then
into Kong's
that
dilemma.
Kong's dilemma. Yeah, it's the one. So they essentially get. This one's a weird one to try to explain.
I know it's a bizarre game.
So essentially, you're divided into two teams of three, and each person is given, I forget how many beans that they have. Yeah, it's 6 beans, and so each round, every person, you're working as a team, but you're also working individually. So like each team can put in beans into this big jug, and the team with the most number of beans at the end of each round is the winner. They won that round. But you individually at the end, whoever put in the most, or whoever has the most number of remaining beans, and that like you're doing this completely blind, your other teammates don't know how many you're putting in. They only know the total number, I believe, right?
Yeah, they know the total.
They know the total number of what got put in that round, but they don't know who put in how many. And you can talk about it, but who knows if someone's lying. And so, like, at the end, whoever has the most number of beans wins. And whoever I think has the least number is automatic deathmatch. Because the winning team, the only person immune is whoever who has the most number of beans, which ends up being Sungyu again, because he lies.
Makes a big betrayal on the group at last minute.
Look, it's a big betrayal, but also I think it's the same people that betrayed him the previous game with the cards.
Yeah, so this entire series, Sungyu has a big problem with Eunji. Like the two of them like cannot get along at all.
They cannot.
He's
she
like
screws him over. He screws her over.
Sungyu's like, I have less than 1% trust in Eunji. Like,
well, I
he
think
really
that they
doesn't
just
like
keep
working with her.
screwing each other over.
It started because I think Eunji screwed him over big time in Scamming Horse Race, and then he just couldn't let that go.
Yeah,
and keeps happening the rest of the games.
And somehow he ends up on her team in this.
And he is obviously really upset about it.
He does not like being on that. I don't think he because who else is on that team? I forget.
It's Kyungran is the other one, yeah.
Yes. Kyungran I always feel like is just like her relationships with all of these people is just like she's fine with all of them.
Yeah, there's no one here that
major
Kyungran
alliances with her,
enemy.
no major like disagreements.
Yeah.
Then again, by the end of it, I didn't trust Eunji.
I don't. Like, she comes off as very untrustworthy.
She does.
I don't know why, but she just does.
I didn't trust anything that she did, if I'm being honest. I'm like, she's gonna screw, like, there's a trick here.
The most shocking thing, though, here is that as much as Sungyu hates Eunji, he, like, actively helps her win the next death match.
True.
And I think it's because he feels bad that he screwed over his team.
I think that Sungyu does these, like, weirdly sneaky things at times, and then immediately regrets it. And, like, he's just like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
He does get, like, 8 garnets out of Eunji, though, after helping her win the death match,
Again, though. He likes the money. He's fine with the money. Mm-hmm. He knows how to make money. He wins, but, like, this death match was interesting.
This is the weirdest death match I think they've played on the show ever. It's really strange. I don't even really know what this game is. It's really weird.
Yeah. What?
I don't even remember
the image game.
something.
Which
It's got like
I don't understand the rules of this game.
I don't understand the rules of this game at all. So I can't talk about it because it's too I don't understand what's happening.
It because again, everyone is playing. It's not just the two people in the deathmatch. Everyone is playing, and they're just handing over the same pictures and saying words. And I don't get it.
I really don't get it. It doesn't bizarre.
Make sense to me.
Yeah. All I know is that Sungyu sits right next to Eunji and is like actively telling
helping her
the
like,
right answers to something. Yeah.
And I don't know what he's telling her because this game doesn't make any sense.
Because I can't follow the game. Yeah, exactly.
Like the game doesn't make any sense to me, so I'm just like, I don't know what you're telling her. So I can't really review this game. I don't feel qualified to review this game. If anybody in the comments can explain what was the death match at the end of episode 8 of The Genius. Explain it, please, because it's been 7 years and neither of us still get it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't...
Euram gets eliminated. That's really all that we have to say about the death match.
Yeah. So you want to move on to the next episode, the expression auction?
I don't like this game. I think it's a boring
more math.
Game.
It's more math.
There's a lot of like really weird like basic math like type games in the Genius.
Yeah. This one ends up just being you have to make an equation they're auctioning off like
numbers and numbers and
you
expressions.
Have blocks that you use to auction with. Mm-hmm. And essentially Sungyu basically gets an 11 block and essentially is guaranteed a win.
Yeah, it's as soon as they auction off the 11 block and Sungyu gets the 11 block, he's the winner. Yeah, he's the winner.
Because he also has a multiplication sign, so there's no way he's going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, he knows that he knows he's... I love when Sungyu realizes he's won, because at some point this has happened a couple times, that and in the burglar game, Catch the Burglar, there's a point where he realizes he wins and he just gets really giddy.
I know, it's so cute.
He just gets so happy, and I'm like, aw.
It's adorable.
You deserve this.
Mm-hmm. And it's... a weird thing I think they mention about this game is that they mention the possibility of joint winners, which I'm pretty sure it's impossible to have more than one winner of this game. Because the auction ends immediately once someone makes an expression. And so that means no one else has an expression. And you can't... Yeah. And then it's like there's no way you're going to get more than one winner from this game.
It's cheating Indian poker because the other players are helping. But then I think eventually the other players get confused. Because they're like, they're trying to help, but then there's like this weird thing where they said the wrong thing. And that's the reason that Eunji goes home.
Yeah.
Because I think they put up actively, it wasn't really her fault that she just got bad information because I think it was...
Well, I think Sangmin
Kyungran got confused.
Sungyu, yeah, Sangmin and Sungyu are actively helping Jinho the entire time.
Yeah, they're actively helping Jinho, and then Kyungran is actively helping Eunji, but she messes up.
Yeah, it's because Sangmin and Sungyu decide on the fact that there's only two options. It's like it's essentially like a yes or a no type of thing. It's like you should fold or not, I think. Mm-hmm. And so Sangmin and Sungyu essentially just decide that we can't ever have the same one. So you're always gonna have like fold, and you're always gonna like have keep. And then they know whatever one has two is the one that Kyungran is showing to Eunji.
Mm.
And so that's the strategy they're trying to do with that.
Yeah. Which makes sense, but I'm just like... And then eventually I think Kyungran gets confused. Like, she does it wrong, and then it causes, like, the whole thing to
it's a weird
apart.
aspect to this game that, like, doesn't need to be there at all.
No, it just makes the game, like, confusing. And, like, especially when you're trying to keep up with, like, them on the ground, and, like, they're in, like, a separate room off to the corner.
Yeah.
Like, they're in a completely different room. Which I also wanted to briefly talk about, like, the set design of this house.
Set.
This house is very odd.
It's really weird.
It's like...
So there's a den.
There's like den. The main den area with like the two staircases that go to nowhere. Then there's like a bedroom.
They somehow all walk out of a door that's like beneath the staircase, which is that's really bizarre.
Which I think is almost implied to be like what's quote unquote the front door. Even though, like, you're going from the... it's
because in
this
all
is
of the other
totally a
seasons,
set.
on all of the other seasons, the door is actually on the staircase, which makes a lot more sense. They come
Yeah.
up the top of the staircase.
They go down the stairs.
Yeah, it's like
As
that's what the
like that
stairs
makes
are there
sense.
for. Yeah.
Because I don't think the stairs go to anywhere. Because I don't even
No,
because
there's
I see
just
them
like
on the stairs, but I don't
there's
see them
just
go up the
stairs
stairs.
and there's like a platform I think where the stairs meet, and I think that's all there is there.
Yeah, I think there might be a door up there too, but I don't think it goes anywhere.
But they don't go, and they never go in that door. It's
No,
like weird.
because I
yeah.
don't think there's anything back there. I think that might be because I think this is
It's just
entirely
a fake
set.
door. It is a set, yeah.
So I don't think they can even. I don't know if they can even go up those stairs. If it's the platform is what quote unquote safe. But like there's that. There's like a weird bedroom.
Yeah, there's 4 distinct rooms every
Yeah.
time in the Genius set. So there's a bedroom because there has to be a bedroom. That's a
Of
real
course.
practical room to have.
Yeah, for some reason there's a bedroom. There's
And then-
that weird dungeon.
There's just like a utility. It's just like a closet.
It's a closet that kind of looks like half of like a closet, but also a little bit like a dungeon.
It is, and all there is in there is there's like a couple of
chair.
like wooden boxes. Yeah,
And
they're
a
not
chair.
even
It's just-
chairs.
That's where Gura was when that
Well, he was
election game
throwing
just
a
doing
tantrum,
nothing. He was
yeah.
just hanging out.
Just hanging out in this dungeon closet.
In the dungeon closet. There's like a little like boardroom area.
Yeah, there's like a weird dining room with a
Dining
table.
room table.
Yeah.
Which is where and then there's like a little library. What is essentially like a library study room.
Oh,
has,
it's gonna get even more bizarre. The set design in previous or next seasons, because spoiler alert, one of the rooms is gonna be the bathroom in one of the the future Genius seasons.
That's gonna. I want to see.
It's a bizarre room. It's
a
one of the bigger rooms too. It's just like a bathroom. It's got like fake toilets in it.
I want them. Now I have to watch this show. I really want to just see that bath. Like that just sounds hilarious.
It's so
to me.
fun.
Like,
and there's
I think
also
that they just go with like the shrink. What's the weirdest like set design? Because none of these rooms are actually usable as those rooms. They're just like random placeholders. Like we need them to hang out, not all in the same room. So let's just decorate it. And it's just absolutely what they decided. Like the set design in certain Korean variety shows is just so strange.
Yeah.
Because the colors are also completely off. Like
Yeah.
it's purple
it's
and orange.
Weird. It's weird. It gets weirder. The
colors are a
actual
little
design of the
weirder.
room, it gets weirder. Because there's another spoiler for future Genius houses. There's gonna be a poster of Obama in one of them.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah. I feel like
And
that's pretty
amazing.
on brand for a Korean set decoration.
A picture of Obama? Yes.
Yep. Just the most random thing you can possibly think of.
It's all just random things that they're just like exist. And it just I think that it's meant to be funny, and it is. It fully works.
I find it hilarious.
It fully works. I adore what's happening. Episode 10. So this is the this one. So this one is another rendition of Scamming Horse Race.
Mm-hmm. But it's
So it's
confined
called
scamming
Confined
horse
Scamming
race.
Horse Race because everyone gets to bring a friend.
Well, let's go through the
Everyone-
friends real fast.
Sungyu brought a friend.
Sungyu brings the literal CEO of Wolum Entertainment, his own company, as his guest on the show.
Which is hilarious. I'm just like,
It's like,
what?
why?
Why?
Like, actually, why? Why is
That
that the person you pick?
I mean, it's hilarious that he does.
It's
so
so
essentially,
funny.
this is the same as original Scamming Horse Race, if you remember those rules. Only now, all of the actual players are confined to, which is the reason we brought up the rooms, because all 4 of them are confined to each of these 4 rooms. Each of the 4 rooms. And essentially, they can only communicate through this guest that they brought. The guests have to run around to each of the different rooms to get the information, and the guests are the ones that do the betting.
Yes. They are stuck in the room. Poor Sangmin and Haha end up in the dungeon closet.
The dungeon like that doesn't even have like every of the other rooms. The only reason I feel bad for them is because
It's
all
the
the other rooms
smallest
look like they
room.
have comfortable chairs.
Yeah.
Like especially the library has like an actual like
Right?
couch.
Yeah, and then the dining room is just like a table with chairs.
It's a table with chairs, like but it's a nice table.
The bedroom has like some nice chairs on the side, yeah.
And then you have the dungeon, which I think is like just a wooden chair and some crates.
There is a literal like wooden crate as the table in that room.
Because they're like hunched over. With Sungmin and Haha are like literally hunched over because Sungmin is slightly tall, so he's like, I have to hunch down to do anything.
That room is half the size of any of the other rooms too,
It's so tiny.
Yeah.
There's no reason for it to be that small.
But yes, Sangmin brought Haha as his guest. Haha is very well known in Korean variety. He's on Running Man.
I feel like at
famously.
that time he might have been more well known than Sungmin. For 20, I don't know. I don't want to pretend I know anything about who was
Running Man
in
was
Korea at the time.
Running Man was real big 2013.
Running Man
that was
real
also
big.
He was also on Infinite Challenge at that time when it was still on. That was also really, really big. So Haha is like very big in Korean variety.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that now Sangmin is more popular than Haha. Sangmin is doing spectacular. But if you are concerned about Sangmin and his debt, don't worry because he's doing extremely well.
Oh yeah,
he's on the top of variety show rank like celebrities like every single month. Like he's doing fantastic.
Hilarious on that show.
He's so funny.
Also, I love the amount of times they refer to his debt because every time like he like makes anything or I makes a joke, they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember seeing you. I think you bowed and were on your knees a bunch before." And there's just some references to his debt, and I'm like, "Oh my god!"
In this episode, when they're talking to like Sungyu and his boss, and it's like, "You're gonna donate the money to charity. Like I actually need the money."
Yeah, when they're talking about like, because at the end of this show, all the garnets are translated to cash, and whoever won gets the cash. So like in total, it was $79,000, give or take. And like like they're talking like Sungkyu's gonna donate to charity because idols, he can't take this money, and like Sungmin is like, I actually need this. This could help. Can you donate it to me? I need this. I never actually looked into his debt.
I didn't look too deep into the debt, but
Neither
I find the running storyline about Sangmin's debt hilarious.
It's so I love it so much. It's just like it's a constantly running thing, which I guess in comparison to what some of the other casts of the show have done.
Yeah.
We looked up Chung-yup recently.
Oh my gosh.
He might still be in prison.
Yeah, update on Chung-yup. He got arrested for drugs in 2016.
But there's actually no update about
there are
what
no
happened
updates
after.
on what happened. He is
I
quietly disappeared.
I mean, he hasn't done a show since 2013.
He has not. He has not acted since 2015, so he's likely just not a celebrity.
He might still be in jail.
He's possibly in jail or he's out of jail and he's just not going to be an actor anymore.
Laying low.
So Kyungran's guest is he's just a smart dude. That's one of her friends, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know who he was.
Yeah. I think they went to the same school or something and...
Yeah, he's not really anyone that I think
He's not a celebrity, really.
He's not a celebrity. I mean, she herself, Kyungran is
she's an announcer.
She's an announcer. I think she does the news or something in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
So she's not necessarily also a super. Then again, I don't really know how Koreans view their own announcers if they're massive celebrities, but I can't imagine they would be.
I don't think they are.
They might be.
Your variety show people, your Yoo Jae-suk and people those type of announcers are very famous, but I don't think your regular daily news announcers are really
and I'm not really sure what she was doing at the time. But so I don't know if she has that many celebrity connections to bring on I mean, Sungmin brought on Haha, one of the at that time a massive celebrity.
Haha's the biggest guest on this episode for sure.
Yeah, Sungyu brought his boss.
The Woolham CEO, yeah.
He brought his boss.
To be fair, I think Sungyu has a really good relationship with him.
He does. But it is odd to bring your boss.
It's really weird, yeah.
And then also that's kind of what screws him over. But who did Jinho bring?
Jinho brought another person he's also a video game player.
He's a gamer.
Because they call him the Genius Tyran or something like that, and so he's one of these other professional gamer people.
Neither of us are big professional. We don't know professional gamers.
No, we should ask Lucas or Dan. One of them might know.
They might. they're the resident gamers on this podcast.
They are.
So it ends up with Sungyu ends up losing because
Sungyu
the
again
woman CEO just does not listen.
Doesn't listen to him
at all.
Sungyu has the strategy figured out, and he just does not listen to him.
He does like almost the opposite.
Yeah, it's just so weird.
And Sungyu was on such a streak. Sungyu at this point has won
he was on a hot
the
streak,
last 2 games, was immune the game before, and won the game before that. So since episode 6, he's been on top.
Mm-hmm.
And yet here he is losing because
his boss doesn't.
His boss won't listen to him. So yeah, then they play. He ends up playing
Jinho in the death match.
He ends up playing Jinho in another game of, I think it's Indian poker.
This is tactical.
No, it's tactical. Yeah, it's tactical.
Because they play it with their guests.
Yep, and Sungyu loses.
And we need to talk about the most unnecessarily dramatic music that plays in the background.
So I'm sitting, because I rewatched this season. Did you rewatched it too?
Yeah, I did.
We both were rewatching this, and I just remembered I sent you a message of Sungyu is losing this game to the soundtrack of Lana Del Rey's Young and Beautiful. And this is just like during the game, when it gets like to the point where Sungyu is starting to lose and starting to like get like completely, and then eventually when he actually loses, it switches over to a Florence and the Machine song, just super intense, and I'm just like, I started laughing. I'm like, what is this?
It's so dramatic.
It's so dramatic. This show has the best soundtrack, but like we need to specifically talk about Sungyu's exit music, which is just like, it is the full Lana Del Rey song. Like, this isn't just a clip. This isn't just the instrumental. No, it is, like, the full 3 minutes while this game is going on of Young and Beautiful. And then it goes super... I'm just like, whoever made the music choices for this show.
One of these episodes,
Perfect.
I can't remember which one, has, like, several songs from, like, the Hunger Games soundtrack.
They use the soundtrack of, like, every Ocean's movie possible. Like, the super, like, action movie soundtracks.
And then this is like in The Great Gatsby, I'm pretty sure.
Yes. It's just like, oh my god. Like, it's a perfectly highlighted moment. I think you can find the clip of Sungyu's death match on YouTube, just of itself, when he gets eliminated. And I think that, like, it plays that music, and it's just it's one of my favorite moments in any reality show. I'm not even gonna say Korean reality show. I'm not gonna say K-pop reality show. In any reality show ever, it is just, it's so perfect.
It's so fun.
And it's like, it's because of Korean copyright law, they can just use whatever songs they want.
It's not meant to be funny, but it's actually hilarious.
It's hilarious, but also, like, I'm just laughing. I feel bad for Sungyu. I'm like, oh, you were doing so well, you could have won. Mm-hmm. But, like, it's just, I'm, like, laughing. I had to pause it at one point. I'm like, this is reality. Like, this is really happening. This isn't a fan edit. This is just what they sound. This is how they actually soundtrack this show.
We also need to talk about the Sungyu Sangmin relationship for this episode, where they're throwing notes back and forth across the hallway at each other.
So essentially, the dungeon, and I think Sungyu is in
Sungyu's in the room with the table, so the dining room.
He's in, like, the dining room.
Yeah.
And those 2 rooms are essentially across the hallway from each other. So they can't leave because there's quote-unquote guards.
There's a guard outside each room.
So they're, like, essentially throwing what are essentially, like, paper airplanes back at, like, they open the doors. And I'm like, you could just yell. At that point, just yell.
And then it's like Sungyu, like, takes a note, like, wraps a garnet in the note, throws it at Sangmin, and it's like, my dearest Sunbae Sangmin. It's like, who I will always love and respect my entire life.
It's love notes. I swear it's like they're like, it's like their husbands went off to war. It's like, I love you, I miss you. It's been so long. I'm like, it's like they're off to war.
And then, it's like, so at one point, Sangmin, like, throws it back at Sungyu and is like, this one is too light. And so Sungyu, like, puts 2 more garnets in it and writes a new note. He's like, oh, of course, I wouldn't want to offend my dearest, beloved Sunbae Sangmin.
And, like, throws it back across the hallway. They just kind of got bored.
Yeah.
Because they can't do, like, they're not actually even talking about anything related to this game.
Mm-hmm.
They're just throwing love notes back and forth. Like,
and then at one point, it's like Sungyu like finishes reading a note to Sangmin, and he's just like crouched on the floor laughing.
it's like, this is another one of my favorite episodes because they can just
so
bring
funny.
this kind of random shit.
Yeah.
While, like, they're actually, like, doing, like, the game in the other room down the hall.
Yeah. Also,
these two are out here writing love notes back and forth and throwing them. And then there's the one that doesn't make it.
And it cuts in between the game playing out, and then it has like some whatever, like probably like an Ocean's 8 song in the background, and then it cuts over to Sungyu and Sangmin, and there's just like this dramatic music playing in the background as they're reading these love notes to each other.
They just had I feel like Sungyu and Sangmin just had fun.
It was so fun.
Like, I feel like they had their strategy, but they were also like, I'm just here to have some fun.
It was.
This is just fun.
They were so fun on this season. It's so fun. Episode 11 is the 5-5 game. And the fun part about this episode and the game is that they don't tell them what the actual game is about to start off. They have the three of them there, Sangmin, Jinho, and Kyungran, and then they bring in these 10 just completely random stranger people, and the only thing they tell them is like, here are these people, it would be best if you learned as much as you can about all of them. And then they're just like, okay, you got like half an hour or something.
Here's 20 minutes. Learn about them. Bye.
Mm-hmm. And so they like have no idea what they're gonna do, like they're doing. They're just like walking around, asking them questions or whatever. Like random questions. It's like they have no idea what types of questions or things they should be asking any of them. There's one girl who's a race car model that literally everyone just stares at the entire time.
This race car model, like, she's pretty. She's very pretty. I will admit that. But she's also in, like, high heels and, like, this really, like, they just ogle her. And I'm not just talking, like, the editing makes it seem like the two players are ogling her. They make it seem like, because we haven't mentioned them, there's 3 dealers in this show, 2 male and 2 female, who essentially are like, the arbiters of the game.
There's 1 female dealer.
What, did I say 2 female? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's 3 dealers, 2 male, 1 female, and they are just the people that, like, they essentially make the games happen, and they run the games, and so they make it look like the players are ogling her, that the dealers are ogling her. It's just so insane. I'm just like, what's happening?
This is the first time we've ever mentioned the dealers, the actual like host of this game, and we have not once mentioned the bandage man.
The bandage man who is just a static image. Like, there's no actual person. It's a static image and then a robotically altered, like, deep voice who just explains the game at the beginning.
Yeah.
He explains the game, explains the rules, gives them an update on how many garnets everybody has. Mm-hmm. And the dealers are just there to, like, they'll answer any questions and they, like, deal out the games.
For example, in, like zombie games, she's the one who would oversee everyone, like, the touches for everything. Or in Scamming Horse Race, the dealer's the one who's, like, moving the horses as the game progresses and stuff like that.
And they're also the people that, like, they'll give you any of the open pass, they are the one that were selling the extra cards. They're also the people that are like, if we do this, can we sell this? Can we do this? They answer all the questions that all the players have. And in some of these games, they have a lot of questions. They have so many questions, and those dealers are just, like, patiently like, y'all are idiots.
Mm-hmm. And so essentially after the players are given these, like, however many minutes to ask questions about these other people, they're finally told the rules of the game. And so this game is a 5-5 game, which is essentially they have a character limit that they're supposed to ask a question to these 10 people, and they want the answer of the question to be a 5-5 split between, like, yes or no, essentially. Mm-hmm. Or just... That's the idea, is, like, you want to ask, like, a yes or no question. So you get a 5-5. Yeah, it's like, so 5 people have one answer, and the other 5 are going to have the other answer.
Mm-hmm. And they each take very different... Because it's very different strategies.
Kyungran goes the very logical strategy of, like, she wrote everyone's name down, is essentially asked most of her questions based off of, like...
their names.
Essentially what letters are in everybody's names. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like she kind of figured out how to, because I feel like there's a learning curve where like there's a couple, like the beginning they're a little bit like, well, what can I ask?
Yeah, and then Kyunghyun gets really bogged down in asking questions about birthdays, and that really backfires when one of them apparently gave her the wrong birthday.
Which I don't understand how you forget your own birthday.
It's weird. This girl's logic is so weird, and I'm sure she did it just to be tricky.
Yeah,
because she's like, well, my birthday on my registration papers is different than my actual birthday, and it was just like,
give your actual birthday.
And I'm like, you fully know what you are doing here, like,
yeah, you fully know what your birthday is. You're doing this
just to be tricky, yeah.
Yeah, this girl was just very tricky, and like, I think my favorite thing is just like these 10 people are just so genuinely want them to do to ask the right questions, because when they get a 5 and 5, like you see some of them actually like do a little cheer for them, yeah, you got it.
They're all like rooting for them. It's like really cute.
Yeah, they're rooting for all of them.
Yeah,
which is adorable. And then like Sungmin asks like really questions of like what he can see. Like, at one point he asks, "Oh,
I'm crossing my legs
crossing
right
your
now."
legs," and like because he sees like the front row is all crossing their legs.
He just like sits, like comes up to the podium and then stands there and just like stares at them for like a good like 30 seconds, and then he like writes down his question as fast as he can
before anyone can change anything about their like posture or position or anything. Like he asks a lot of things about things he can see, like about like what they're wearing, what the like very surface things.
Yeah,
and it works out well, pretty okay for him.
It's really funny because so after they do the first round of like 3 questions, I think they're allowed another 10 minutes to ask questions for the second round, and then it is just absolute chaos. Like literally,
like they are just like yelling questions at these people,
sprinting
like,
everywhere.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like what are? It's so intense because they finally understand what the rules are, and they're like, I need all of this information.
Yes.
But the fun part is like half of that information doesn't end up being a clear 5 and 5.
No, not at all.
Jinho's a beast at this game, though.
He is. Jinho figures out like the actual winning strategy of this game. Like it is fantastic. Where he figures out that if he tells a new piece of information to 5 people, then that's always going to give him a 5-5 split. So he told 5 of them that his brother's name, and then so one of his questions was, I know the name of Jinho's brother, and it's like that is such the good strategy for this.
That is the perfect way to do it, because if you're trying to get information out of people, then you have to figure out what information 5 of them have. It's like there's not a clear delineation, but the rules don't say that you can't tell them information about yourself.
Yeah, the show even mentions it, that it's like when you're in a game of information, the easiest way to do it is to create new information for the people instead of trying to find like old information.
Yeah, because like you can ask them as much, like you can ask them if they have siblings. Does it mean 5 of them do or don't? Like there could be just you're getting information that's gonna get you nowhere, because you have to have
and they
5 of them that yes, 5 of them that don't.
They purposely make it like a 6-4 like women men or whatever split, so they like that's not a question they can just ask easily.
Yeah, because it's like it's also not clear, like the ages are all roughly similar.
Yeah, Jinho asked a question about ages, and a lot of them apparently lied to him because he like asked like an age question. He's like, oh, I'm in my 20s or something, and then it ended up as like a 7-3 split or something.
Yeah, and I feel like it's just people that were just like, I don't want to tell you my age.
Yeah.
I also probably don't want my age on national television.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is fair. Points to like these people are like, they're just regular people. They don't have to give you this information.
Exactly.
So like it's just very like he had the winning strategy. His strategy was amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
I love that it took till the second round, like where he was just like, "Nah, I'm just gonna get all of these."
Yeah, because he didn't know that was what he had to do.
The first time, but like even in the first round, he managed to get like really good questions that gave him.
I think he gets 2 out of the 3 right the first time. Yeah. My favorite moment of this show is in this episode where Sangmin is asking this question where it's something about I'm wearing a belt or wearing long boots, and the dealer tells him that one of his like characters is wrong. Apparently it's like wearing a belt, and then so Sangmin thinks it's because he doesn't know the word for wearing a belt in Hangul apparently, but it was really just like bad handwriting.
Like his handwriting is terrible.
And so he goes through several like stages of him trying to figure out a new word for wearing a belt. And so he goes, I am wrapping a belt at one point in time. And then I think he ends up with like, I am donning a belt. That's like the final question he asks.
I'm like, it makes sense. It still works. But
and then
like,
every time the dealer is watching him, the dealer is just cracking up. And the dealer has been like stone-faced this entire series because she's like serious and she's like not trying to pay attention to all the bullshit that's happening around her. But she and Sangmin are just up there like cracking up the entire time. It's so good.
Got some, he does have like not that proficient at Hangul myself, but like his handwriting is a little off.
Yeah. And I just find it funny that it was
apparently he does literally not remember, just like wearing a belt is a very difficult phrase to write in Korean.
Right, and I find it so not know funny what this word is? That he didn't go straight to, oh, my handwriting is bad. He went straight to, oh, this is not the correct word I'm using. I
also love that it ended like donning a belt does work. It's just not the phrasing anyone would use.
It's not the phrasing. Like I guess wrapping a belt also would work.
Wrapping a belt I think is worse. Donning I like more.
Right. Mm-hmm. He also has a really good moment where he notices that four of the women are wearing a bracelet, and so he gives his bracelet to one of the other girls to wear. So he has a 5-5 split on wearing a bracelet now.
Yep.
Like that's a great move.
That's another one where it's like giving information. Like here, you have this.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about some of Sungmin's outfits in this show.
Oh my god.
Are a choice. We haven't really talked about the outfits in this show.
Oh my god.
That's mainly because they're kind of boring.
I can't wait until you get to season 2. Season 2 outfits are fucking amazing. Oh my god, the season 2 outfits are great.
I remember, doesn't Sangmin have like almost a full leather, like it looks like a pleather shirt.
Oh my gosh.
In this show, and I'm like, oh
yeah.
Lord, what are you wearing?
I mean, in comparison, season 1 outfits have nothing on season 2 outfits.
Well, I mean, the season 1 outfits for the most part are kind of boring. Fantastic, they're very like simple. They're like, you know, casual, like Korean, like slightly, you know, the first episode they all dress up for.
Right. They gotta look fancy and whatnot.
Yeah,
right.
They gotta look fancy because it's the promo shot that they use at the beginning of like the promo shot where they're all in like the black dresses and the black suits. That's from the first episode. That's what they play the whole episode in.
Yeah.
But like the rest of the episodes, it's very casual.
They can just wear whatever. It's very abundantly clear that they are allowed to just wear whatever they want to the rest of the episodes, especially in future seasons. Because some of these outfits that people show up in it's absolutely hilarious. It is a treat.
All right. So,
are you ready for the death match?
With that death match. This death match is interesting. So this death match ends up being Sungmin and Kyungran. So they end up doing, it's called what, picture?
Same picture hunt. So there's essentially like a grid, and I think there's like 16 letters on this grid. And then behind each of them is one of the pictures on the conveyor belt. And then so you essentially you would have to figure out which picture is behind each letter.
Each one.
And then memorizing which one is which so you can move your piece like farther.
My favorite thing is that they, not even by chance, did any of them get it right before they had most of the grid out. Like like you have a 1 in 16, you'd think at some point by chance they would have gotten it. No, it is almost till they're gone through every picture that they can move it. They almost, each of them almost loses the game before they like even go back one space, entirely by chance.
I know this is a fun death match. It's one of the better ones of the ones they played on this season. There's a lot of ones in the future that are death matches that are gonna highly rely on memorization. So. It's pretty on brand for that.
It's a good death match, and I think it does actually show skill and not just, some of the death matches I think are a lot about luck.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A lot of the death matches like after season 1, they're either based on like memorization or they're a lot of these like betting like card strategy type games.
Which I think are like the two best death matches from here. Like the memorization and like Indian poker is my favorite personally still because I think
poker
you get
and
it's a long game and it's so much interaction.
Yeah, this game and Indian poker they're going to use as death matches in future seasons.
Okay.
And also Gilhap that they use in the finale. That's also going to be a reused death match.
I liked that game a lot.
I like that one a lot.
Mm-hmm. So,
and I guess it is time to probably move to the finale now.
Yeah, Sungmin ends up
loses.
losing.
It's close. It's about
close.
time for him to leave, I think.
I don't think he was like. It ends up you look at what's going into the final death match, and like they're good players, both of them. It ends up being Jinho versus Kyungran, and they're both good players, but like for some I'm like always like on Jinho, and I'm like he just like dominated this game. In a way, she did well, but I always like. I don't know. She didn't stand out as much to me as he did. Like, but I also feel like a lot of people went hard against him.
Right.
She kind of managed to skate by a lot.
Yeah.
Because that was the first death match she did.
Right. I think Kyungran is also sort of in this realm of she's more of a follower than she was the leader on these games. Where Jinho was actively making like very really good like strategy decisions every game.
The thing with him was like he wasn't even really a leader. He just kind of did his own thing.
Right. It's because like Open Pass, like no one wanted to work with him, and then he comes in with like the best winning strategy for that game.
It's like super depressed. Like no one wanted. I think they were a little bit like it ended up being partially, I think, somewhat intimidation. Like he was.
I think it's because they all know he's so smart. Yeah, that they want him gone.
But also
they want to force him into the death match.
Aw, I felt bad. He was like so sweet, and I feel like toward the middle there, he had like no allies.
Yeah.
And then he like made friends with Sungyu, and they were cool for like the last episode that Sungyu was in this show.
Right, right.
But so like the death match, the final episode is essentially 3 death matches. You have 3 separate games that they're gonna play. If you win 2 out of 3, you win the show.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty boring in comparison to other episodes just because they're playing death matches the entire time.
Yeah, it ends because I think all the 11 contestants come back, except for like 2 of them.
Sungyu and Yurim can't be there because they're busy.
Yeah, Yurim is off on like a training camp, and Sungyu is away.
He's doing infinite things, I'm sure,
infinite.
Yeah.
No one says infinite. No one says the word infinite, but they're like, he's away. My other favorite thing I want to mention is that when they say Sungyu can't be here, on the screen his picture appears. And it says, Hallyu star, Sungyu. I'm like, okay.
He's too big of a star to come to the Genius
Hallyu
finale.
Star, Sungyu. Yeah. I'm like, oh yes, we do remember what he looks like too.
Mm-hmm. Alright, but so one of the things I do like about the finale, and this is about as much of like past player participation like I want to see in the finale, is where they're all allowed to give an advantage to one of the 2 people in the finale.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah.
I don't want them participating any more than that in this.
No, I think if they participate any more than that, it just becomes a little muddled, and it's like, well, they lost. There's like this weird vendetta. There isn't really even a vendetta. There's like they're just very calm about it. I just don't love that former player participation.
Because they have them playing Gilhap, which I think is really unfair in a way.
Yeah.
I think that's a bizarre thing for them to do. Honestly,
Yeah.
I feel like the finale should be only the actual 2 people in the finale playing the games.
Yeah, Gilhap, and then they kept... Because it ends up... It, in a weird way, I think it almost ended up being won by the friends.
I know, that's what I don't like about it. Is like, I don't want Jinho's win in this entire season to be because he had friends who are good at Gilhap that happened to support him. Like, that's... True.
And he was also really good at figuring out when the puzzle had 0... Had, like, 0 ability to be solved.
Right, right.
So, the first game was Indian poker. And Jinho won that. There really isn't anything more to say about Indian poker. They played it, like, 4 times at this point.
Yeah. He won Indian poker. They played Gilhap.
And then Sungyu wins both. Sungyu? Nope.
No,
Jinho
not
wins...
Sungyu.
Not Sungyu, sorry. And then Jinho wins both of them, so there really is no reason to go back to the third game, which was supposed to be same picture hunt.
Yeah.
So they're really, like, that almost got cut short. I think they had to fill time somewhere in there.
They really did.
That's why the games felt long. To me, the games felt so long.
Yeah, and that's how you can sort of know who's going to win, because if it's like you're at the end of the episode, they've only played 2 games, like, you know what's happening, and so the pacing is a little bit bizarre.
Because it's weird. They didn't have to play the third game, which in that kind of show, I'm just like, oh my god, the games felt so. These are not games to be played for that long. The death matches in all of the other episodes have been kind of concise. Like they're what, maybe 10 minutes, not even that.
Maybe like 15 something minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, depending on who's playing, depending on like sometimes they go by quick. All the rock paper scissors went by very quickly. Thank God. But like the games are like 10-15 minutes, but at this point, since it's the entire episode, they're stretching these games out to be like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
and it's like as much as I think both of those games are really good death matches, like I don't want to see either of them for a half hour. Like that's too much. Yeah.
That's why the death matches are short. That's why the death matches are like what they are. They're not meant to be the main match.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Jinho wins. I'm really happy Jinho wins.
I think he deserved it.
I guess this isn't a thing, we haven't talked about it, but Jinho's like curse of second place that he's had his entire life up until this show.
Oh yeah, we haven't spoken about. Yeah, they do make mention that Jinho has had this like weird curse where he gets second place
all the time.
Time.
Always second place.
And they show old clips of him when he was a pro gamer. And he just would get second place, like, a whole bunch. And it's kind of sad. Mm-hmm. Like, he looks kind of, like, it's just, like, little Jinho from a few years back. And he just kind of, I get second place all the time.
And anytime there's the number 2, there has to be, like, a mention of Jinho, because that's just, like, his thing.
And the other thing is, like, even when he doesn't win the death match, even when he doesn't win the main matches, he's always, like, really close to winning.
Yeah.
Or he gets chosen to be in death matches because, people wanted him gone.
Oh, yeah. And I would have been so incredibly sad if Jinho just got second place right here.
That would have been depressing.
The curse continues. Like, oh my god, that would have been sad.
That would have been so depressing.
That would have been so sad.
Like, not in the first one, but, like, when they finished the first game, I was like, well, what if he does get second? Like, the first time I was watching this, I'm like, what if he does get second?
That's just
and then I realized that toward the end of the second game, I'm like, wait a minute, there's no more episodes. He's gonna win this.
He's gonna win.
Because you realize you have, like, 5 minutes left. Yeah. And, like, they only played one game.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense. I really like Jinho as a winner. I think he was the right person to win this season. He's a good first winner of this show, too.
Mm-hmm. And I think he played well. He didn't screw anybody over that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he wasn't a part of
all of them did. He
wasn't really a part of any of the big, like, notable betrayals happening here.
No.
Well, I guess he did because he got blackmailed with his own garnet, but that's kind of his own. That's kind of his own fault.
That's blackmail. That's more Sungmin, who decided to blackmail somebody.
Yes.
With their own garnet, which is still like amazing. His one garnet.
That is
he had one
such
garnet.
A move. Yeah.
It's such a move.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, it's just this show was just so good.
It's so good. This is, I think, probably my favorite variety show like I've ever. If we can really even consider this a variety show, it's my favorite.
It's
ever.
One of like it's so good. It's so well done. It's so like perfectly done. The characters are good. Like everything is just constructed in a way that's just really entertaining. Mm-hmm. So here's a question before we end, because I think we're done talking about the overall actual show. Do you think an American Genius would work? I think we talked about this a little bit at the beginning, but do you think like a Western Genius would work? I don't.
I don't
think you could find celebrities that are that smart.
I think you could do it if you use non-celebrities, because there are enough people who, like your Survivor, Big Brother type people who would,
but
I think make it really interesting.
The show.
It would, because then you actually care about the money, and then that brings in a whole nother aspect to it.
Because when you actually care about them, because I think part of the fun part of this game is that like they're playing for real money.
Yeah.
But the person that actually wins is gonna
It's such an unsubstantial amount of money for the people on this show, I think, for like any of them really. Mm-hmm.
But I think for most of the people on this show, it's just like it's another paycheck.
Like Sangmin's probably gonna be fine even with all his debt. Like
Sangmin is fine.
Yeah.
We live in 2020. He's fine.
It's like the money is not like the motivating factor of the show. I think
No.
this is the big thing. Like it's money, it's a lot of money, but it's not enough money that it is like life changing or it's gonna be. That's the reason they need to win, because if that was, I think you see a lot more of like backstabbing like type strategy.
It allowed, like, the garnet system allowed for like really fun, like, Sungkyu was just wasting those garnets because he didn't care about how much money he was going to win from this show. I think if you
Right.
had normal regular people,
They'd be a
they
lot more
wouldn't want to
conservative.
waste, like, they would not spend garnets the way Sungkyu does, or the way any
Each
of
of
them
those
do.
garnets is $1,000. And so when you
Exactly.
put that in perspective, a lot of people would be really hesitant to spend any of that.
Any of the garnet, like, Sungkyu bought all of the clues. He bought a bunch of packs of, like, if you just look at how much he spent, he's bought all of the clues
Yeah.
in Scamming Horse Race.
He spent
bought all
13
like,
garnets all at once in Scamming Horse Race,
yeah. He spent a lot of money for more cards in Open Pass. He just threw garnets at someone in his love notes.
He bought a clue in regular Scamming Horse Race for absolutely no reason at all. And
Nope.
it was like the worst clue ever.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense. Like, it was
It was the
absolutely
six
useless.
horses in sixth place. Like that's not like real helpful to
That
anybody.
doesn't help, because I
Yeah.
think he already knew that the sixth horse wasn't going to win.
Yeah.
Like, he threw Sungmin garnets for, you know, a love note.
For just love, for purely for the comedy of it, just
Purely
throwing
for
garnets
comedy.
at segment. Yeah.
Like, no, like, I feel like in an American version of the Genius, you need to do it with regular people, and you wouldn't get these comedic moments with garnets.
No.
Which is the funniest part of the show, which
It's
is just
so
how much
funny.
they're spending.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think Jino won. He won fairly.
He did. I like him as a winner. He's a really good winner.
The show was just very, like, this was a perfect first season.
Mm-hmm. It
Because
really
I think
was.
that they figured everything else out. No one, like, nothing happened in the show that would make a second season look bad.
Yeah.
So it just kind of worked well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited to watch more of this show.
Yes, we
now.
are going to be doing retrospectives on all of the other seasons, the other 3 seasons of The Genius, which I'm so excited about. Yeah, this is the end of our Genius retrospective. Subscribe to us if you like this contest, want to see more K-pop or K-variety content in the future, because we will definitely be doing more of this series. And yeah, we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye!
Bye.